Hey everyone, welcome back. And this week, so in this week, we are going to look at a lot of theory questions. So to start with, I know I have come up with an interesting one. So this is latest question. So latest EXO question. So we'll just discuss with this one. So many of you should have idea on this if you are a senior. But if you are a junior, I will just discuss on this topic like very in detail. So that you will understand properly. So understanding is important, more than to, like rather to like see you will get the answers like in the internet. But the thing is like understanding the process is important. So that's why like I came up with this topic. So we'll get started with this one. So if you're new to the channel, you can click on the link above. I'll just ping that. So we can go through the entire playlist or a segregated component playlist as well. So we'll get started with this today's session. So in this session, the question would be, so the recruiter will ask you whether the roll-up component will break pipeline parallelism or not. So that's the question. Okay, so the question would be, so it's an EXL 25 question. So will roll up, you know, break. So pipeline parallelism or not. So that's the question. So you need to solve this one. So you need to give a theoretical answer. So for this to solve, you have to understand the pipeline parallelism. Okay, so for to understand the pipeline parallelism, you need to know type of parallelism. So so first we'll discuss on that expectation. So expectation would be, in Abinitio normally there are some topics that recruiter will will expect you to answer. For example, partition. So a staples concept. And then you have a parallelism. And then you have concurrency in plans. So there are like some topics. And then MFS. So there are some topics that recruiter will ask you. So if you are a 3 plus or 4 plus or 5 senior. So depends on the complexity. So depends on your experience level, you will get the complexity. So right, in this use case, the concepts would be to understand. So to understand the parallelism. So available parallelism in ab initio, and then discussing. And then identifying the difference, and then what are the other use cases regarding that. So we'll see the first type first. So we are not going to detail in this one, because like all this information are available already in the in this site. So if you just type parallelism in this website, you will get all the list of like all the examples, and then everything. So we are not going to discuss on the detail, but we'll just specify the types. So the types would be, first one would be data parallelism. Second one would be component. Okay, so third one would be pipeline. So these are the three types. So we are going to see the pipeline today. So let's dive into pipeline. So in this pipeline, first before solving this question. So our question use case is this one. Let me just paste it here. So this is our question. Entry question. So now to solve this, first understand the pipeline parallelism. So to understand the pipeline parallelism, now take a graph. So construct a graph. Construct a graph where where input is connected to some basic transform component. So we'll just consider. So create a graph. So where input data flows through some basic. So basic transform component. So which does not use key. Use key, or does some in memory thing. Whatever. So involving in memory thing. So for example, reformat here. Or let's say FB filter. Like this. So when the data goes here. So like this data is going, like if you have some for example, you have I'll just come to the pipeline parallelism. So before that, I'll just explain the with the use case. So if you have data. okay, so xy z. Okay, so you have three rows, okay, three records, and then as soon as you start the process, your basic transform component will start the process as soon as each record comes in. Okay, so that means each record comes in. Okay, so here x and then x get processed, and then x is written in the output side. Okay, and then here for y is getting read, and then as soon as it's getting read, like it will write to the output like that. Okay, like that it will like all the records. Okay, so there is no interruption. Okay, so the thing is there is no interruption, so you have to understand this. Okay, so there is no interruptions. Okay, so this is the main point. Okay, so there is no interruptions. Okay, so as soon as the data comes, it is writing, it is getting written to the output. Okay, as soon as data comes, okay, comes, like it's processed, and then return to the output. Okay, let's say output, or you say downstream. Okay, so that's a downstream, right? So if this is a no, this would be our downstream. Okay, so let's put downstream. Okay, so this is a no, see, pipeline parallelism is that your data flows in, and then your records are getting processed, and then it's written in the output side. Okay, as soon as data comes, it will process, and then it will write into the output. Okay, simultaneously. Okay, so everything get processed in a stream flow. Okay, like a stream flow. Okay, so data records processed through the records process gets processed in a stream data. Okay, in a streamline flow. Okay, so in a streamline flow, so that's why they call it as a pipeline. Okay, so it's like a pipeline, and then data flows, and then it gets processed, and then returned to the downstream. Okay, so from the upstream, data flows, and then in a pipeline it travels, and then return gets printed to the downstream. Okay, so this is what pipeline your pipeline parallelism concept. Okay, so pipeline parallelism concept, if you just read the theory, you won't understand. Okay, see, wherever you, even in the docs.abinitio.com, they will be specifying the theory. Okay, so you have to take the theory, and then you have to build one graph, and then you have to see and check. Okay, so you have to check whether your theory is matching with your understanding. Okay, so this is the understanding. Now we'll come back to the question. Okay, so will roll-up break pipeline parallelism or not? Okay, so that's the question. So here, so for that to understand, okay, let's go to the, okay, so uh, let's go to the next page here. Okay, so here let me just create a flow. Okay, so where I will be using the roll-up. Okay, because you know okay, so here I have to use the roll-up. So that's what the use case is. Roll-up. When I say roll-up, what happens? Okay, so now the understanding is, okay, now the understanding is roll-up. Okay, so this one, according to the concept. Okay, so this component has the in-memory sort parameter. Okay, so that means reads the data, and then does in memory. Okay, does sort in memory. Okay, so while doing that, what happens? While doing that, what happens? Okay, just think. Okay, so what happens while doing that? Okay, so your data, your data is getting gathered. Okay, so getting grouped. Okay, and then so it gathers data and sort. Okay, so first what it gathers the data, sort it, and then group it. Okay, and then process, and then process, and then write to downstream. Okay, so downstream will be put on hold. Okay, so meanwhile downstream will be put on hold. Okay, so Yeah. So see meanwhile downstream will be put on hold. Okay. So what happens? The answer to this question would be okay. Both. Okay. So it will break or it won't break. Okay. Depends on the data. Okay. So first thing you have to answer is the proper answer would be okay. So proper answer would be because see if this is a hypothetical question. Okay. If you understand this question, there is a lot of gray area behind this. Okay. So because will roll up break pipeline parallelism or not? See that one first of all depends on the data. First of all, answer to the recruiter. Okay. So depends on the data. Okay, so suppose first category. First, I'm using unsorted data. Okay, so for the unsorted data, what happens? Your roll up, no, it will perform the in-memory sort, and see, it performs everything. These thing, okay. So it performs these functions. Okay, so okay, so this performs. Okay, for the unsorted data, this happens. Okay, so it does the sorting and then process. Okay, so this actions. Okay, gathers data and then sort and then group and then process. Okay, for example you have a b, okay, whatever. Okay, here c, put a, okay, something like that. Okay, something. Okay, so for this, what happens, surely you'll like roll up will break. Okay, in this case roll up will break pipeline. Okay, so when we say pipeline break pipeline parallelism, it's like interruption. Okay, so it does the interruption. Okay, so interruption is going to occur because it does the sort in memory thing. Okay, because the data is sorted unsorted. Okay, so now same thing. Okay, same thing for the like sorted data. What happens? Sorted data, what happens? Your roll up will just group the data and then process. Okay, and then write it to the output. Okay, as soon as process. Okay, so downstream it's like it process like each group. Okay, so process each group like simultaneously. Okay, so there is no interruption. So no interruption, so no breakage. Okay, no breakage of pipeline parallelism. Okay, so that's the answer. Okay, so this is for second. Okay, so there are two categories. Okay, you have to answer properly. Okay, so just when you hear this question, don't I think by now you would have referred to the internet. Okay, so you would have muck up the answer, but read the, like, when the recruiter asks this question, you just ask them depends on the data. So it tells them depends on data. For the unsorted data it becomes like this, for the sorted data it becomes like this. Okay, so that's the thing. I think hope this video is very useful for you. So share it with your friends. Okay, so many of you guys like doesn't know about this gray spots. Okay, so there are like a lot of gray areas here. So understand the concept thoroughly and then prepare for the interview. Okay, so I'll just see you guys in the next video.